30 of the most brilliant engineers in New York City have spent 4 sleepless nights trying to find the ghost bleeding millions from the Valente empire. 30 minds with degrees from MIT, Stanford, and Cambridge, armed with technology that costs more than most people earn in a lifetime, and not a single one can trace where the money is vanishing to. The conference room on the top floor of Valente Tower has become a battlefield of empty energy drink cans, crumpled printouts, and broken pride. Computer screens glow in the darkness like angry eyes, flashing red error messages that mock every attempt to solve the impossible puzzle. Then a 26-year-old office cleaner walks in carrying a mop and bucket. Elena Cruz is nobody. A ghost moving through hallways, emptying trash bins, wiping down surfaces that important people touch without ever seeing who cleaned them. She dropped out of engineering school when her father died and left her with a 14-year-old brother who needs heart surgery to survive. She works 2 jobs just to keep them both alive, living in a studio apartment so small she can touch both walls at the same time. She is invisible, the kind of person powerful men look straight through without registering her existence. But when her eyes land on the data flow map still glowing on the massive screen, something clicks in her brilliant mind. In exactly 30 seconds, while setting down her cleaning supplies with one hand, she sees the pattern everyone else missed. She has no idea that standing in the shadows behind her, watching her every movement with dark eyes that have witnessed more death than she has birthdays, is Dominic Valente himself. The king, the most ruthless and feared underworld boss in New York. A man who built an empire on fear and loyalty. A man whose face can empty a room in seconds. Before we continue this story, drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from tonight. If this story grabs your heart, smash that like button and share it with someone who loves a powerful tale. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story like this one. Now let us find out what happens when the most powerful man in New York becomes obsessed with the woman everyone else overlooked. Elena moves toward the screen, her cleaning rag still in one hand, her eyes tracking something the engineers cannot see. The room has gone quiet. 30 exhausted men in expensive shirts watch this woman in a gray cleaning uniform approach their failure. "Excuse me," one engineer says with barely hidden contempt. "We're working. You'll have to come back later." Elena doesn't respond. She is staring at the screen, her mind racing through calculations she learned before life crushed her dreams under its heel. She sees it now, clear as daylight, the pattern hidden in plain sight. She picks up a dry erase marker someone left on the table. "Hey!" Claudia Reeves snaps, standing up from her chair. Claudia is the head of engineering, 34 years old, dressed in a power suit that costs more than Elena's entire wardrobe. She has worked 12 years to reach this position, clawed her way up through a male-dominated field, and she does not appreciate a janitor touching her workspace. "Put that down and get out." But Elena's hand is already moving. She draws 3 quick lines on the whiteboard beside the screen, connecting data points that seemed random. She writes a single number. "There," Elena says quietly, her voice steady though her heart pounds. "Check transaction cluster 47B. You're looking for a macro event, but this is micro delay aggregation. Someone is skimming 0.03% on every automated transfer. It's so small your algorithms dismiss it as normal latency. But over 4 months, across 17,000 transactions per day, it adds up to millions." The room falls silent. Elena can feel 30 pairs of eyes on her back. She turns and sees them all staring, some confused, some curious, and Claudia's face flushing red with humiliation and rage. Then she sees him. Dominic Valente steps out of the shadows, his expensive Italian shoes making no sound against the floor. He is tall, powerfully built, dressed in a black suit that probably costs more than a car. His dark eyes are cold and calculating, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass. Everything about him screams danger. Elena's blood turns to ice. "Who gave you permission to touch those things?" Dominic's voice is low and controlled, but there is steel beneath every word. Not a question, a demand for an answer. Elena's hands tremble, but she forces herself to meet his gaze. She knows who he is. Everyone in New York knows Dominic Valente. The man who controls half the city's underground operations. The man politicians and police commissioners fear. The man whose enemies disappear without a trace. "I'm sorry, sir," Elena says, her voice barely steady. "I thought the room was empty. I was just cleaning and I saw the numbers and I You what? Dominic interrupts, taking a step closer. His shadow falls over her small frame. You thought you could solve what 30 experts cannot? I didn't mean. Show me. Dominic cuts her off, nodding toward the screen. His voice hasn't risen, but somehow it fills the entire room. Prove you're not wasting my time. Elena swallows hard. She walks to the main computer terminal, aware of everyone watching, aware that one mistake could cost her everything. Her hands shake as she types, navigating through layers of code and data streams. Rafael Morello, Dominic's right-hand man, stands near the door. He is 42, broad-shouldered, with scars that tell stories he never speaks aloud. He watches Elena with the same intensity as his boss, hand resting near his jacket where Elena knows he keeps his weapon. She finds the transaction cluster, pulls up the timestamps, shows the micro-delays that repeat in a pattern too precise to be random. There, Elena says, pointing at the screen. Every Tuesday and Friday at 3:47 a.m. Exactly 2 seconds of latency on automated transfers to offshore accounts. Your system treats it as normal network delay. But it's not. Someone programmed a siphon. Rafe moves forward, his eyes scanning the data. He sits at another terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard. The room holds its breath. 30 seconds pass. Then 60. Then Rafe looks up at Dominic, and for the first time, shock crosses his hardened face. She's right, Rafe says, his voice rough with disbelief. The money's going to a shell account in the Caymans. Routed through 17 different companies. And the signature. He pauses, his jaw tightening. It's Marco's authorization code. The name hangs in the air like a gunshot. Marco Valente. Dominic's cousin. The man who runs day-to-day operations. The man Dominic trusted like a brother. Dominic's expression doesn't change, but Elena sees his hands curl into fists at his sides. The temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. Lock down all of Marco's access, Dominic says quietly. Find him. Bring him to the warehouse on Pier 9. I'll deal with him personally. Rafe nods and pulls out his phone, speaking in low, rapid Italian. Dominic turns back to Elena. Those dark eyes study her as if trying to see into her soul. What's your name? Elena Cruz, she replies, fighting to keep her voice from shaking. Elena Cruz, Dominic repeats slowly, tasting each syllable. Tell me who you are. I clean offices, sir, Elena answers. I work nights here and mornings at a hospital. I didn't ask what you do for a living. Dominic's voice cuts through her words like a blade. I asked who you are. Elena blinks. No one has ever asked her that question. Not like this. Not as if the answer actually matters. She takes a breath and decides to tell the truth. Because at this point, she has nothing left to lose. My name is Elena Cruz. I'm 26 years old. My father died when I was 19 in a construction accident, leaving me to raise my 14-year-old brother alone. Mateo has a congenital heart defect. He needs surgery that costs more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime. I was studying mechanical engineering at Columbia before I had to drop out. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, trying to save enough to keep my brother alive. I live in a 300-square-foot apartment in the Bronx that smells like mold and broken dreams. I owe a loan shark named Victor Hale $40,000 that I borrowed to pay for my father's funeral and my brother's medication. And every day, I wake up wondering if today is the day I'll fail and lose the only family I have left. She pauses, meeting Dominic's gaze directly. Anything else you want to know? My blood type? My shoe size? Silence fills the room. 30 engineers stare at this cleaning woman who just challenged the most dangerous man in New York. Dominic studies her for another long moment. Then, something impossible happens. The corner of his mouth lifts. Just barely. Just enough. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. My office. His voice is still cold, but the edge has softened. That's an order, not an invitation. Elena straightens her spine. I don't take orders from anyone, Mr. Valente. Life has been ordering me around for 26 years. I don't need another master. The room goes deathly quiet. Even Rafe freezes, his hand moving closer to his weapon. Dominic stares at Elena. No one speaks to him this way. No one dares. Then he laughs. A short, dry sound, but genuine. Rafe's eyes widen. The engineers look at each other in disbelief. Very well, Dominic says, his tone softening by a fraction. Then this is an invitation, not an order. 10 o'clock. My office. I have a proposition for you. He turns and walks toward the door, Rafe following. Before he exits, Dominic pauses. "Miss Cruz," he says without turning around. "You just saved me $3 million. I don't forget debts." Then he's gone, leaving Elena alone with 30 stunned engineers and the echo of her own racing heartbeat. Claudia Reeves stands slowly, her face twisted with rage and humiliation. She stares at Elena with pure hatred in her eyes. Elena knows she just made a dangerous enemy. But she also knows she might have just found a way to save her brother. Elena doesn't go home that night. She sits in the empty conference room long after the engineers leave, staring at her reflection in the dark computer screen. Her hands are still shaking. What has she done? She pulled out her phone and sees 3 missed calls from Mateo. Her heart clenches with guilt. She dials quickly. "Elena?" Her brother's voice is weak, breathless in the way that terrifies her. "Where are you? It's almost midnight." "I'm sorry, mijo. I'm still at work. Something came up." Elena forces brightness into her voice, though fear grips her throat. "Did you take your medicine?" "Yeah." Mateo coughs, and Elena hears the wet rattle in his lungs that means fluid is building up again. "I'm okay. Just tired." "Did you eat the dinner I left?" "Most of it." Another cough. "Elena, are you in trouble? You sound scared." Elena closes her eyes. Her baby brother always could read her too well. "No, mijo. I'm fine. I might have a chance at a better job. We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? Go to sleep. I'll be home soon." "Elena?" "Yes? I love you. Thanks for always taking care of me." Elena's eyes burn with tears she won't let fall. "I love you too, Mateo. More than anything in this world. Now sleep. Dream about something good." She hangs up and sits in the darkness, thinking about Dominic Valente's cold eyes and the proposition he mentioned. She thinks about Marco's betrayal, about the millions that were stolen, about the way Dominic's hands curled into fists when he heard his cousin's name. This is not a world she understands. This is not a world where people like her survive. But it might be the only world where she can save Mateo. Her phone vibrates. Unknown number. Elena's blood goes cold as she opens the message. It's a photo of Mateo sleeping in their apartment, taken from outside their window. Below the photo, "Nice kid. Shame if something happened to him. You owe me $40,000, Elena. 3 days left. Tick-tock. V. Victor Hale, the loan shark who has been circling her like a predator for months. The man who smiles with gold teeth and makes threats sound like casual conversation." Elena's hands shake so hard she almost drops the phone. He knows where they live. He's watching Mateo. He could do anything, anytime he wants. She looks at the time. 11:47 p.m. In 9 hours, she has a meeting with the most powerful criminal in New York. Elena stands, picks up her cleaning supplies, and walks out of Valente Tower into the cold night. She doesn't know if she's walking towards salvation or destruction. But she knows she can't turn back now. The apartment is dark when Elena finally gets home at 1 a.m. She moves quietly, checking on Mateo first. Her brother sleeps fitfully, his breathing labored, his face pale in the dim light from the street below. Elena touches his forehead, too warm, and adjusts his blanket. She walks to their tiny kitchen, pours herself water from the tap, and sits at the rickety table that wobbles on uneven legs. The walls are stained with water damage. The window doesn't close all the way, letting in cold air and city noise. This place costs more than it's worth, but it's all she can afford. Elena pulls out the stack of bills she's been avoiding. Hospital statements, rent warnings, electricity notices. And at the bottom, the contract she signed with Victor Hale 3 years ago when she was desperate and young and stupid. $40,000 at 20% interest compounded monthly. She's paid him nearly $60,000 already, but somehow she still owes more than when she started. That's how sharks work. They never let you surface. Elena buries her face in her hands. She's so tired. So impossibly tired of fighting just to survive. Tired of watching Mateo struggle for every breath. Tired of being invisible. Tired of choosing which bill to ignore this month. Her phone vibrates again. This time, it's not Victor. Unknown number, but a different one. The message is simple. A car will pick you up at 9:30 a.m. Wear whatever makes you feel strong. D.V. Dominic Valente. Somehow he has her number. Somehow he knows where she lives. Of course he does. Men like him know everything. Elena should be terrified. She should run. She should grab Mateo and disappear into a city where people vanish every day. But she thinks about her brother's labored breathing. She thinks about the surgery that could save his life. She thinks about Victor's threats and the 3 days she has left before something terrible happens. She texts back, "I'll be ready." Then she does something she hasn't done in years. She walks to the tiny closet and pulls out the suit she wore to her father's funeral. Black, simple, slightly too big now because she's lost weight from skipping meals to stretch the food budget. But it's the only professional clothing she owns. She hangs it carefully, smooths the wrinkles, and tells herself tomorrow will change everything. For better or worse, tomorrow her life will never be the same. The black Mercedes arrives at exactly 9:30 a.m. Elena watches from her window as the driver steps out. A man in a dark suit with an earpiece and the kind of stillness that speaks of violence held carefully in check. Matteo is still sleeping, his medication keeping him drowsy. Elena leaves a note on the table. Gone to job interview. Back by lunch. Take your pills. Love you. E. She locks the apartment door 3 times, checking each lock twice, knowing it won't matter if Victor decides to break in. The driver opens the car door without a word. The interior smells like leather and money. Elena has never been in a car this expensive. She sits stiffly, hands folded in her lap, watching the Bronx disappear as they drive into Manhattan. 20 minutes later, they pull up to Valente Tower. In daylight, the building is even more intimidating, 50 stories of glass and steel that reflect the sky like a mirror. The driver escorts her through a private entrance where security guards nod with respect and wave them through without questions. A private elevator. A key card. Rising smoothly upward while Elena's stomach drops. The doors open directly into a reception area that's bigger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook all of New York. The furniture is modern, expensive, perfect. Everything here costs more than she'll ever earn. Miss Cruz. Rafael Morello appears from a side door. In daylight, he's even more intimidating. Broad-shouldered, scarred, moving with the controlled power of a man who knows exactly how dangerous he is. The boss is waiting. Elena follows him through glass doors into an office that takes her breath away. Dominic Valente stands by the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city he controls. He's wearing a dark gray suit that fits perfectly, his dark hair styled back, his profile sharp against the bright sky. He doesn't turn when she enters. "Sit," he says simply. There's a chair across from his massive desk. Elena sits, spine straight, refusing to show the fear racing through her veins. Dominic finally turns, and those dark eyes lock onto hers with an intensity that makes her feel exposed. Seen. It's been so long since anyone truly saw her that the feeling is almost painful. He walks to his desk, sits, and slides a folder across to her. "Open it." Elena opens the folder. Inside is a contract. She scans quickly. Her engineering training taught her to process information fast. Position: Special Analyst and Strategic Advisor to Dominic Valente. Salary: $250,000 per year. Benefits: full health insurance, housing allowance, security detail. Duration: 1 year minimum. Her hands shake. $250,000. More money than she's seen in her entire life. Enough to pay for Matteo's surgery. Enough to pay off Victor. Enough to actually live instead of just survive. What's the catch? Elena asks, looking up. No catch. Dominic leans back in his chair, studying her. You have a gift for seeing patterns others miss. I need that. You work for me, analyze data, sit in meetings, tell me when someone is lying or stealing. In return, you get paid very well. Why me? You could hire someone with actual credentials. I don't need credentials. I need brilliance. Dominic's voice is matter of fact. You solved in 30 seconds what 30 experts couldn't solve in 4 days. That's worth more than any degree. Elena stares at the contract. Her mind races through everything this could mean. Security. Safety. Matteo's life saved. Freedom from Victor's threats. But nothing is free. Especially not in this world. What aren't you telling me? She asks quietly. Dominic's eyes narrow slightly, but there's something like approval in his expression. You'd be working in a dangerous business. Some of what you see will be illegal. Some of what you hear could get you killed if you repeat it. And some people won't like that. I'm putting you in a position of power. People like Claudia Reeve? Among others. Dominic nods. This world eats the weak. If you accept, you'll have enemies. Powerful ones. Elena thinks of Matteo struggling to breathe. She thinks of Victor's photo and his threats. She thinks of the life she's been living, invisible, powerless, drowning. I have enemies already, she says. At least this way I'd have the resources to fight back. Dominic smiles. Actually smiles. It transforms his face from cold and dangerous to something almost human. Smart answer. I have conditions, Elena says, her voice steady though her heart pounds. The smile fades. No one gives me conditions. Then I guess I'm the first. Elena meets his gaze. I need $50,000 up front as a signing bonus. I need my brother's surgery scheduled within 2 weeks at the best cardiac center in the city, all expenses covered. And I need protection, not just for me, but for Matteo. 24 hours. Because the moment I sign this, I become a target. Dominic is silent for a long moment. Then he stands, walks around the desk, and extends his hand. Deal. Elena stands and shakes his hand. His grip is firm, warm, and sends an unexpected jolt through her system. This close, she can smell his cologne, expensive, subtle, intoxicating. Welcome to the Empire, Elena Cruz, Dominic says quietly. Try not to die. The signing bonus hits Elena's account within 3 hours. $50,000. She stares at her phone screen, seeing more zeros than she's ever had in her life, and feels tears burn her eyes. She immediately transfers $40,000 to Victor Hale with a message. Debt paid in full. Stay away from my family. His response comes within seconds. Pleasure doing business with you, Elena. Though I'll miss our little chats. She blocks his number. Then she calls the cardiac center at Mount Sinai and makes an appointment for Matteo. The administrator who answers becomes noticeably more respectful when Elena mentions she's calling from Valente Tower. The surgery is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. Matteo will live. Her baby brother will actually live. Elena sits on her fire escape that evening, looking out at the city lights, and lets herself cry for the first time in months. Not from despair this time, but from relief so overwhelming it breaks something inside her chest. The next morning, 2 men arrive at her apartment at 7 a.m. One is the driver from yesterday. The other is younger, sharp-eyed, built like a fighter. Miss Cruz, the driver says. I'm Marcus. This is Tony. We're your security detail. Where you go, we go. I'm going to work, Elena says, still adjusting to having bodyguards. Then so are we. At Valente Tower, Elena is given an office 3 doors down from Dominic's. It's small but beautiful, glass walls, modern furniture, a computer system that makes her old laptop look like a toy. She has access to everything: financial records, operational reports, security protocols. Rafe stops by at 10 a.m., carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he says, his scarred face unreadable. Fair warning. Claudia's been asking questions. She's not happy you're here. I noticed, Elena says dryly, accepting the coffee. Rafe sits across from her. Boss doesn't do this. Doesn't hire people on instinct. Doesn't give signing bonuses. Doesn't arrange surgery for employees' family members. He studies her carefully. You matter to him. I don't know why yet, but you do. So I'm telling you this once, don't betray him. He's been betrayed enough. I'm not a traitor, Elena says quietly. Everyone says that. Rafe stands. Until the price gets high enough. Just remember, if you hurt him, I'll kill you myself. Nothing personal. He leaves before Elena can respond. She sits alone in her new office, drinking expensive coffee, and wonders what she's gotten herself into. The first week passes in a blur of meetings, data analysis, and learning the language of power. Elena sits beside Dominic in conference rooms where men in expensive suits discuss things they never explicitly name but everyone understands. Money laundering disguised as real estate investments. Protection services that are actually extortion. Legitimate businesses that fund illegitimate operations. She doesn't speak unless asked. She watches, learns, and takes notes. Dominic runs his empire with cold precision. He never raises his voice. Never threatens openly. But men twice his age treat him with the kind of fear usually reserved for gods or monsters. Elena begins to understand why. On Thursday, a contractor tries to skim money from a construction project. Dominic listens to the man's excuses with a blank expression, then says 3 words. Rafe. Handle it. The contractor is never seen again. On Friday, Elena identifies another vulnerability in the financial system. A backdoor that could be exploited for fraud. She writes a detailed report and delivers it to Dominic's desk at 6 p.m., expecting to leave it for Monday. Instead, she finds him still working, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, looking more human than she's ever seen him. "You're still here," he says, glancing up from his computer. "So are you. I don't sleep much." Dominic gestures to the chair across from him. "Tell me what you found." Elena explains the vulnerability, using simple metaphors: water flowing through pipes, pressure points, weak seals. Dominic listens with complete focus, asking sharp questions that prove he understands more about engineering than most people realize. When she finishes, he nods. "Fix it. You have full authority." "Just like that?" "Just like that." Dominic leans back. "You've earned my trust, Elena. I don't give it often, but when I do, I give it completely." Something in his voice makes Elena's chest tighten. This man, this dangerous, powerful, ruthless man, trusts her. Actually trusts her. "Why?" she asks before she can stop herself. "Why what? Why trust me? You don't know me. I could be working for your enemies. I could be planning to betray you like Marco did." Dominic is quiet for a moment, his dark eyes searching her face. "I know betrayal, Elena. I've seen it in 100 forms. I know what it looks like, how it moves, how it hides." He pauses. "You're not a traitor. You're just someone trying to save your brother. That I understand. Did you have siblings?" Elena asks softly. Pain flickers across Dominic's face, there and gone in an instant. "A sister. Gabriella. She died when I was 16. Leukemia. My father spent everything trying to save her, but it wasn't enough. I watched her fade away in a hospital bed while doctors said they could help if we had more money, better insurance, access to experimental treatments." His jaw tightens. "I swore I'd never be powerless like that again. Never watch someone I loved die because I couldn't pay the price to save them." Elena's throat constricts. She sees it now. The empire built on grief. The ruthlessness born from helplessness. The man who controls everything because once he controlled nothing. "I'm sorry," she whispers. "Don't be sorry." Dominic's voice hardens back to steel. "Gabriella's death made me who I am. Without it, I'd be weak. I'd be nothing. Or you'd be happy," Elena says quietly. Dominic stares at her, and for a long moment neither speaks. Then his phone rings, shattering the moment. He answers, listens, his face darkening with each second. "When?" he asks sharply. "Where is she now?" He hangs up and stands, grabbing his jacket. "What's wrong?" Elena asks. "Claudia just leaked confidential information to our competitors. She's trying to sabotage us because she can't stand that I chose you over her." Dominic's voice is ice-cold fury. "Rafe is bringing her in. You should go home. Let me help." "No." Dominic cuts her off. "What happens next isn't something you should see. Trust me." He walks out, leaving Elena alone with the echo of his words and the knowledge that somewhere tonight, Claudia Reeves' betrayal will be answered with violence. Elena gathers her things and goes home, but she doesn't sleep. She lies awake thinking about Dominic's sister, about the man behind the monster, about the way he looked at her when she asked if he could have been happy. And she realizes, with a shock that steals her breath, that she's starting to care about him. Not as a boss, not as a benefactor, as a man. This is dangerous, more dangerous than anything else in this new world. But Elena has never been good at running from danger. Claudia Reeve doesn't show up to work on Monday, or Tuesday, or ever again. No one asks questions. No one mentions her name. The head of engineering position stays empty for 2 weeks before being filled by a quiet man from Boston who treats Elena with cautious respect. Elena doesn't ask what happened to Claudia. She doesn't want to know. But she sees the way other employees look at her now, a mixture of respect and fear. She's under Dominic Valente's protection, and that makes her untouchable. Matteo's surgery is scheduled for Friday. Elena takes the day off, and to her surprise, Dominic appears at the hospital at 6 a.m., dressed casually in dark jeans and a black sweater that makes him look younger, almost normal. "You don't have to be here," Elena says, though her heart lifts at seeing him. "I know." Dominic sits beside her in the waiting room. "But I remember what it's like. Waiting, helpless. You shouldn't have to do that alone." They sit side by side as morning turns to afternoon. Dominic doesn't make small talk. He just stays. When Elena's hands shake, he doesn't comment. When tears slide down her face, he hands her tissues without saying a word. 7 hours later, the surgeon emerges with a smile. The surgery was a complete success. Matteo will need recovery time, but his prognosis is excellent. Elena breaks down sobbing, and without thinking, she turns and hugs Dominic. He stiffens for just a second, Then his arms come around her, gentle, careful, warm. "Thank you," she whispers into his shoulder. "Thank you for everything. You earned it," Dominic says quietly. "You saved my empire. I'm just returning the favor." But when Elena pulls back and sees his face, she knows it's more than that. The way he's looking at her right now isn't how a boss looks at an employee. It's how a man looks at a woman he's starting to fall for. Matteo recovers quickly. Within 2 weeks, he's breathing easily for the first time in his life, running around their new apartment. Courtesy of Dominic's housing allowance, which turned out to be a 3-bedroom place in a safe neighborhood with actual security. Elena's life has transformed so completely she sometimes forgets to breathe. She has money, security, purpose. Her brother is healthy. Her debts are paid. But something else has changed too. She and Dominic have fallen into a pattern. Late nights in his office, working side by side, eating takeout from the best restaurants in the city. He tells her about his father's legitimate businesses, the construction company that built half of New York, the real estate portfolio that spans 3 states. She tells him about her dreams of designing sustainable buildings, of creating something beautiful that lasts. "You should go back to school," Dominic says one night, looking up from his laptop. "Finish your degree. I can't afford. I'll pay for it." His tone brooks no argument. "It's an investment. You're brilliant, Elena. That brilliance shouldn't be wasted." Elena stares at him. "Why are you doing this? Why do you care?" Dominic is quiet for a long moment. Then he says something that changes everything. "Because when I look at you, I don't see what you were. I see what you could be. And I want to help you become that person." Their eyes lock across the desk. The air between them shifts, charges with something electric and dangerous. Elena should look away. Should remember that this is her boss, a criminal, a man who has killed people without hesitation. But all she can see is the man who waited with her during Matteo's surgery. The man who listens when she talks about her dreams. The man who smiles, actually smiles, when she walks into the room. "Dominic," she begins. His phone rings. He answers with visible frustration, listens, and his entire expression hardens to stone. "When did she arrive?" he asks coldly. He hangs up and stands. "I have to go. There's someone here I need to deal with." "Who?" "Isabella Romano. My fiancé." The word hits Elena like a physical blow. "Fiancé." Dominic sees her face and his jaw tightens. "It's not what you think. It's complicated." "When is it not complicated?" Elena says, forcing her voice to stay steady even as her heart shatters. She gathers her things and leaves without another word. Behind her, Dominic stands frozen, watching her go, and cursing himself for the pain he just put in her eyes. Isabella Romano is everything Elena is not. Tall, elegant, sophisticated, dressed in designer clothes that probably cost more than a car. She has perfect posture, perfect hair, perfect makeup. She walks through Valente Tower like she owns it. Elena watches from her office as Isabella sweeps into Dominic's, not bothering to knock. Rafe appears beside Elena, following her gaze. "Political arrangement," he says quietly. Isabella's father runs the East Coast shipping routes. Dominic's father arranged the engagement before he died. "It binds our 2 families together, keeps the peace, prevents war." "Does Dominic love her?" Elena asks, hating how small her voice sounds. Rafe looks at her with something like pity. He respects the alliance. That's all he's ever felt for Isabella. But he's never broken the engagement because duty matters in this world. Family matters. Keeping your word matters, even when it means marrying someone you don't love. Especially then. Elena turns away from the window. She can't watch anymore. Can't see Isabella touching Dominic's arm, smiling up at him with the confidence of a woman who knows she belongs. That night, Elena doesn't work late. She goes home, holds Matteo while he tells her about his day at school, and tries not to think about dark eyes and dangerous smiles. But when she's alone in her room, she finally admits the truth to herself. She's in love with Dominic Valente. And it's the most dangerous thing she's ever done. The next 2 weeks are torture. Isabella stays in New York, appearing at meetings, sitting where Elena used to sit, treating Elena like hired help. Which, technically, she is. Dominic grows distant, professional. He doesn't invite Elena to work late anymore. Doesn't ask about her day. Doesn't smile. Elena tells herself it's better this way. Safer. She has her job, her brother is healthy, and getting her heart broken is a small price to pay for all she's gained. But then she finds the file. She's running a routine analysis of quarterly earnings when she notices something strange. Money flowing into offshore accounts that don't match any of Dominic's known holdings. Small amounts, spread across dozens of transactions, designed to look random. It's the same pattern Marco used. The same technique. Someone else is stealing. Elena digs deeper, tracing the money through shell companies and dummy corporations. It takes 3 days of obsessive work, barely sleeping, surviving on coffee and determination. And then she finds it. The source account. The authorization codes. The thief is Marco's contact. Someone still inside the organization. Someone high up enough to access Dominic's financial systems. Someone named in the documentation as IR. Isabella Romano. Elena sits back in her chair, heart pounding. This can't be right. Dominic's fiancée is robbing him? It makes no sense unless the engagement isn't what it seems. Unless Isabella's family wants to weaken Dominic before the wedding. Unless this is all part of a larger plan. Elena saves everything to an encrypted drive, compiles her evidence, and walks to Dominic's office. It's 11 p.m. He's still working, alone, Isabella having left hours ago. We need to talk, Elena says. Dominic looks up, and the way his face softens when he sees her makes her chest ache. Elena, I didn't know you were still here. I found something bad. She closes the door behind her. Dominic, Isabella is stealing from you. His expression hardens. Explain. Elena shows him everything. The accounts, the transfers, the authorization codes that trace back to Isabella's access credentials. Dominic's jaw tightens with each passing second. When she finishes, he's silent for a long time. You're certain? He finally asks. Completely. The pattern is identical to Marco's. Same methodology, just better hidden. She's been siphoning money for 6 months. Probably planning to drain your accounts right before the wedding and then disappear. Dominic stands, walks to the window, stares out at the city lights. His reflection in the glass is cold, empty, dangerous. I should have seen it, he says quietly. Should have known the engagement was too convenient. Her family pushes for the wedding. She suddenly becomes interested in the business. Marco conveniently gets caught right when I start trusting her. He laughs bitterly. I've been played. What are you going to do? Elena asks. Dominic turns to face her, and the look in his eyes is terrifying. This is the man the city fears. The man who built an empire on ruthlessness. I'm going to end this. Tonight. Dominic. Go home, Elena. Lock your door. Don't come to work tomorrow. His voice is ice and steel. When Isabella realizes you exposed her, she'll come after you. She can't afford to leave witnesses. I'm not afraid. I am. Dominic cuts her off, and the raw emotion in his voice stops her cold. I'm afraid of what she might do to you. So please, for once, just listen to me. Go home. Let me handle this. Elena wants to argue, wants to stay, wants to tell him she's not leaving him alone to face this. But the look on his face makes her nod. She goes home, locks every door, checks on Matteo, tries to sleep. At 3 a.m., her phone rings. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answers. Hello, Elena. Isabella's voice is cold, refined, deadly. You made a mistake tonight. A fatal one. Elena's blood turns to ice. What do you want? I want you to understand something. Dominic is mine. This empire is mine. And you're just a cleaning girl who got lucky. Isabella's laugh is cruel. But your luck just ran out. The line goes dead. Elena runs to Matteo's room. Her brother is gone. On his bed is a note in elegant handwriting. Come to Pier 9, Warehouse 3. Come alone. Tell anyone, and the boy dies. You have 1 hour. Elena's hands shake so badly she can barely hold the phone. She should call Dominic. Should call Rafe. Should call for help. But the note is clear. Tell anyone, and Matteo dies. She grabs her coat and runs into the night. Pier 9 is abandoned. The warehouse is dark and silent except for the sound of water lapping against rotting wood. Elena's breath clouds in the cold air as she approaches Warehouse 3, every instinct screaming at her to run. But Matteo is inside. Her baby brother. The only family she has left. She pushes open the rusted door. The warehouse is vast, empty except for old shipping containers and shadows. A single light hangs from the ceiling in the center, casting a circle of illumination. In that circle, Matteo sits tied to a chair, a gag in his mouth, his eyes wide with terror. Matteo. Elena runs forward. Stop. Isabella steps out of the shadows, gun in hand. She's still dressed elegantly, but her perfect facade has cracked. Her eyes are wild, desperate. One more step and I shoot him. Elena freezes. Let him go. This is between us. You're right. It is. Isabella circles slowly, gun steady. You ruined everything. I was so close. Another month and I would have drained Dominic's accounts, destroyed his reputation, and taken control of everything. My family would have absorbed his empire piece by piece. You were using him, Elena says, fighting to keep her voice calm. Of course I was using him. Isabella laughs. Did you think this was about love? About duty? This is about power. Dominic's father killed mine 20 years ago in a business deal gone wrong. I've waited my entire life for revenge. And you, a nobody, a janitor, a girl from the Bronx, you destroyed it all with your pathetic cleverness. Dominic will kill you for this, Elena says. Dominic doesn't even know I'm here. By the time he figures it out, you and your brother will be dead, and I'll be on a plane to Switzerland with $50 million. Isabella's smile is sharp as a blade. Any last words? Yes. Elena meets her gaze. I'm not afraid of you. Isabella's finger tightens on the trigger. Then the warehouse explodes with light and sound. Dominic crashes through the side entrance with 20 armed men. Rafe comes from the back. They surround Isabella in seconds, red laser sights painting her chest from a dozen angles. Drop the weapon, Dominic says, his voice colder than Elena has ever heard it. Isabella laughs, but there's hysteria in it now. You're too late. I've already transferred the money. It's gone. No, Elena says quietly. It's not. Everyone turns to look at her. I froze the accounts this afternoon, Elena continues. Rerouted everything back to your secured system. The money never left. Your plan failed before it even started. Isabella's face goes white, then red. Then she screams and swings the gun toward Elena. 3 shots ring out simultaneously. Isabella drops, blood blooming across her expensive dress. She's not dead, but she's not getting up. Dominic rushes to Elena, hands gripping her shoulders, eyes wild with fear and fury. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Matteo. I'll get him. Rafe moves to untie the boy, who runs to Elena sobbing. Elena holds her brother, feeling his heart beating against hers, and realizes she's shaking. Dominic's hands are still on her shoulders, his face so close she can feel his breath. You should have called me, he says, voice rough with emotion. She said she'd kill him. I don't care. Dominic's grip tightens. You could have died. Do you understand that? You could have died, and he stops, jaw clenching. You what? Elena whispers. Dominic's dark eyes search hers. And then he says the words that change everything. I can't lose you, Elena. I can't. Because somewhere between you solving my impossible problem and you challenging every wall I've ever built, I fell in love with you. The warehouse goes silent. Even the men pretend not to hear. Elena stares at this powerful, dangerous man who just confessed his love in front of witnesses. The engagement, she begins, is over. Was over the moment I realized what I felt for you. Dominic's voice softens. Isabella never mattered. This alliance, this duty, none of it matters compared to you. Dominic. Elena breathes his name like a prayer. I love you, he says again, clearer now, certain. I love your brilliance, your courage, the way you fight for your brother. I love that you see me. Not the monster everyone fears, but the man underneath. And I love that you're the only person who's ever dared to tell me no. Tears stream down Elena's face. I love you too. I've loved you for weeks. I just didn't think. Don't think. Dominic pulls her close, careful of Matteo still clinging to her side. Just say yes. Yes to what? To everything. To us. To building something real. To not being alone anymore. Elena kisses him. Right there in the warehouse with blood on the floor and Rafe's men watching and her brother between them. She kisses him like she's been drowning and he's air. When they finally break apart, Dominic rests his forehead against hers. Let's go home, he whispers. And for the first time in her life, Elena knows exactly what home means. The cleanup takes hours. Isabella is arrested. Dominic has enough evidence to put her away for life. Her family's empire crumbles within a week when their illegal operations are exposed to federal authorities. Dominic doesn't kill her. That surprises everyone. She wanted power, he tells Elena later, holding her close in his office as the sun rises over New York. The best revenge is taking it away completely. She'll spend the rest of her life in a cell, powerless, forgotten. That's worse than death. Elena shivers, but not from fear. From the certainty that this man understands justice in ways most people never will. The weeks that follow are strange and wonderful. Dominic is different now. Softer with her, though still ruthless in business. He smiles more, laughs more, takes Sundays off to spend with her and Matteo. He enrolls Elena in Columbia's engineering program, full scholarship, his personal donation to the university ensuring no questions asked. She goes to class during the day, works for him in the evenings, and slowly builds the future she once dreamed of. Matteo thrives. His heart is strong, his color healthy, his energy boundless. He adores Dominic, who teaches him chess and takes him to Yankees games and treats him like a younger brother. You know he's going to ask you to marry him, Rafe says one afternoon, finding Elena alone in her office. Elena looks up from her designs. What? The boss? He's had a ring for 3 weeks. Custom designed, platinum, ridiculous diamond. He's just waiting for the right moment. Rafe's scarred face softens into something almost like a smile. I've known him 16 years. I've never seen him happy. Not like this. You did that. Elena's eyes burn with tears. I didn't do anything. You saw him. The real him. That's everything. That night, Dominic takes her to the rooftop of Valente Tower. The city spreads below them, a galaxy of lights stretching to the horizon. When I was a kid, Dominic says, holding her hand, I used to come up here and pretend I was king of everything I could see. I thought if I controlled enough, built enough power, I'd never feel helpless again. And did it work? Elena asks softly. No. He turns to face her. I just became lonelier, more isolated, until you walked into my life and solved my impossible problem with a mop in one hand and courage I'd never seen before. He kneels. Elena's breath catches. I'm not good at this, Dominic says, pulling out a small box. I'm not romantic. I'm not easy. I carry darkness that will never fully go away. But I promise you this. I will love you with everything I am. I will protect you and Matteo with my life. I will build you the future you deserve, and I will never, ever take you for granted. He opens the box. The diamond catches the light, scattering rainbows across the rooftop. Elena Cruz, will you marry me? Elena drops to her knees in front of him, takes his face in her hands, and kisses him through her tears. Yes, she whispers against his lips. Yes. 1,000 times yes. The wedding is small, intimate, just family and the few people who matter. They marry at sunset in the rooftop garden Dominic had built just for this day, with Matteo as the ring bearer and Rafe as best man. Elena wears a simple white dress. Dominic wears a black suit. They exchange vows they wrote themselves. I promise to see you, Elena says, hands trembling in his. To never look away from who you really are. To challenge you when you're wrong and support you when you're right. To build something beautiful with you that lasts. I promise to protect you, Dominic says, voice rough with emotion. To give you the freedom to become everything you're meant to be. To love your brother as my own. To never make you invisible again. When he kisses her, the small crowd cheers. But Elena only hears Dominic's heartbeat against hers, strong and steady and real. They honeymoon in Italy for 2 weeks. When they return, Elena finishes her degree with honors. Dominic gradually legitimizes more of his businesses, building a legal empire to replace the illegal one. 3 years later, Elena stands in front of the City Planning Commission, presenting her design for a sustainable housing complex in the Bronx. The building will provide affordable homes for families like hers once was. People who work hard but never seem to get ahead. The commission approves it unanimously. Dominic is in the audience, watching his wife with pride fierce enough to hurt. Beside him, Matteo, now 17, healthy and strong, grins at his sister. She's amazing, Matteo whispers. I know, Dominic replies. After the presentation, Elena finds him in the hallway. We did it. They approved everything. You did it, Dominic corrects, pulling her close. This was your vision, but your money, your connections, your name opening doors. Elena looks up at him. We're a team. Best team I've ever had. They walk out together into the New York afternoon, hand in hand, while their security detail follows at a discreet distance. That night, at the penthouse they now call home, Elena tells Dominic something she's been waiting to share. I'm pregnant. Dominic freezes. His eyes go wide, vulnerable, scared in a way she's rarely seen. Are you sure? Completely sure. Doctor confirmed it this morning. Elena takes his hand and places it on her still flat stomach. We're having a baby. Dominic drops to his knees, presses his forehead against her stomach, and Elena feels his shoulders shake. She runs her fingers through his hair, giving him space to process, to feel, to be overwhelmed. When he finally looks up, his eyes are wet. "I'm going to be a father," he whispers. "The best father," Elena promises. "Because you know what it's like to lose family. You'll never take ours for granted." Dominic stands, pulls her into his arms, and holds her like she's the most precious thing in the world. Because to him, she is. Pregnancy transforms Elena in ways she didn't expect. She's tired, emotional, hungry at odd hours. Dominic hovers, protective to the point of annoyance, hiring the best doctors, insisting she rest, nearly firing an employee who bumped into her in the hallway. "I'm pregnant, not made of glass," Elena tells him after he insists she can't attend a site inspection. "You're carrying my child," Dominic replies. "That makes you both precious and fragile. Humor me." But he listens when she pushes back, learns to give her space while still protecting her, finds the balance between care and control. Rafe is endlessly amused by Dominic's transformation. "Boss used to intimidate world leaders," he tells Elena with a grin. "Now he's arguing with doctors about birth plans and reading books on attachment parenting. I want to do it right," Dominic says defensively when Elena teases him about the stack of parenting books on his nightstand. "I never had a blueprint for this." "Neither did I," Elena reminds him gently. "We'll figure it out together. The pregnancy is healthy, uneventful." Elena works until her 8th month, then finally agrees to maternity leave when climbing stairs leaves her breathless. On a cold February night, her water breaks at 2 a.m. Dominic, who has been sleeping lightly for weeks in anticipation, is up instantly. "It's time?" he asks, trying to sound calm while his hands shake. "It's time," Elena confirms. The drive to the hospital is a blur. Dominic holds her hand through contractions, breathes with her, tells her she's strong, she's amazing, she can do this. 12 hours later, their daughter is born. She's perfect. Tiny, red-faced, screaming with healthy lungs. The nurse places her on Elena's chest, and Elena feels something in her soul lock into place. This is what she fought for. This is why she survived every hardship. For this moment, this child, this family. "She's beautiful," Dominic whispers, touching his daughter's impossibly small hand. She grips his finger with surprising strength, and he makes a sound between a laugh and a sob. "What should we name her?" Elena asks. Dominic looks at his daughter, then at Elena, then back at the baby. "Gabriella," he says softly. "After my sister. If that's okay with you." Elena's eyes fill with tears. It's perfect. They name her Gabriella Elena Valente. Gabby for short. And when Matteo meets his niece the next day, he holds her with the careful reverence of someone who knows how fragile life can be. "I'm your Uncle Matteo," he tells the sleeping baby. "And I promise to always protect you, just like Elena protected me." Dominic stands behind Elena's hospital bed, arms around his wife, watching his family, and he finally understands what happiness feels like. It's not power, not control, not an empire built on fear. It's this moment, this love. The years pass faster than Elena thought possible. Gabby grows from a baby to a toddler to a fierce, intelligent 5-year-old who has her father's determination and her mother's engineering mind. She builds towers from blocks with structural precision. She asks questions that require doctoral-level answers. She bosses around security guards twice her size. Dominic is helplessly in love with his daughter. The man who once terrified the entire city gets down on hands and knees for tea parties. He lets Gabby paint his nails. He reads her bedtime stories in voices that make her giggle. Elena watches them together and feels her heart expand beyond what she thought possible. They have 2 more children, a son named Antonio and another daughter named Sofia. The penthouse fills with noise, laughter, chaos. Dominic scales back his business involvement, delegating more to Rafe and trusted lieutenants. He wants to be present for his children in ways his father never was for him. Elena's housing complex is completed when Gabby is 6. The building is beautiful, modern, sustainable, affordable. Families move in who remind Elena of her younger self, hardworking, struggling, deserving of a chance. She stands at the dedication ceremony with Dominic beside her, their children playing nearby, and she thinks about the night she walked into that conference room with a mop and bucket. "What are you thinking about?" Dominic asks, taking her hand. "How far we've come," Elena says. "How different my life could have been." Do you regret any of it? The danger, the violence, everything you went through? Elena looks at their children. At Matteo, now 24 and in medical school. At the foundation they built that gives scholarships to kids from the Bronx. At the man beside her who learned how to love after spending years building walls. Not for a second, she says. Every moment led to this. To us. I'd do it all again. Dominic lifts her hand to his lips. So would I. That night, after the children are asleep and the house is finally quiet, they stand on their balcony overlooking the city. Remember when you asked who I was? Elena says. The night we met. Dominic pulls her closer. You told me everything. Your whole story. I was nobody then. Invisible. You were never nobody. Dominic turns her to face him. You were always extraordinary. The world just hadn't noticed yet. You noticed. I saw you. The real you. That's different from noticing. Elena stretches up to kiss him. After 11 years together, his lips are still home. Thank you, she whispers. For what? For seeing me. For choosing me. For building this life with me. Elena. Dominic's voice is rough with emotion. You saved me. You took a man who only knew darkness and taught him how to live in light. That's not something you thank someone for. That's something you spend your whole life being grateful for. They stand together in the darkness, wrapped in each other, and Elena thinks about the cleaning woman who solved the impossible problem. She thinks about how brilliance can be hidden anywhere. How love can bloom in the most unexpected places. How life can change in a single moment if you're brave enough to seize it. She was invisible once, but Dominic Valente saw her. And that made all the difference. 10 years later, Elena Cruz Valente stands in front of a crowd of 500 people at Columbia University. She's 46 now, with silver threading through her dark hair, laugh lines at her eyes, and a confidence that comes from years of building the life she dreamed of. She's giving the commencement address to the graduating engineering class. In the audience, Dominic sits with their 3 children, Gabby, now 15 and already designing sustainable systems, Antonio, 12 and fascinated by architecture, and Sofia, 9 and determined to be the first female president. Beside them, Matteo sits with his wife and their infant son. 20 years ago, Elena begins, her voice carrying across the auditorium, I stood where you're sitting now. Full of dreams and potential and hope. Then life happened. My father died. My brother got sick. I had to choose between my education and my family. She pauses, meeting eyes in the crowd. I chose family. And for a long time, I thought that meant giving up on myself. I thought my dreams were over. I thought I was nobody. Her gaze finds Dominic. He's watching her with the same intensity he had the night they met. The same love that has sustained them through everything. But then I learned something important. Your worth isn't determined by your circumstances. It's determined by how you respond to them. I was a cleaning woman when I solved a problem 30 engineers couldn't. I was invisible when I found the courage to challenge the most powerful man I'd ever met. I was broken when I discovered I was stronger than I ever knew. She smiles at the graduates. So my advice to you is this. Don't let anyone make you invisible. Not poverty, not circumstance, not people who can't see your brilliance. Stand in your truth, trust your gifts, and when someone finally sees you, really sees you, have the courage to be seen. The crowd erupts in applause. Elena steps down from the podium, and Dominic meets her at the bottom of the stage. Beautiful speech, he says, kissing her forehead. I meant every word. Their children surround them, chattering about lunch plans and summer vacation and the puppy Sofia desperately wants. As they walk out together into the bright afternoon, a young woman approaches Elena nervously. Excuse me, Mrs. Valente? I just wanted to say, your speech really meant something to me. I'm working 2 jobs to get through school. I'm a night custodian at a tech company. And sometimes I feel invisible. But hearing your story, it gives me hope. Elena takes the young woman's hands. What's your name? Maria. Maria, listen to me. You're not invisible. You're brilliant and strong and exactly where you need to be. Keep your eyes open. Keep your mind sharp. You never know when one moment might change everything. Maria nods, tears in her eyes. Thank you. As she walks away, Dominic puts his arm around Elena. Still changing lives, he murmurs. Trying to, Elena replies. Someone changed mine. It seems only fair to pass it forward. They head home to their penthouse, where dinner will be loud and chaotic and full of love. Where Dominic will argue with Gabby about her engineering designs while secretly being proud. Where Antonio will show them his latest building sketch. Where Sophia will demand a bedtime story that Dominic will act out with dramatic flair. Where Elena will tuck each child in, kiss them goodnight, and whisper that they are seen, they are loved, they are extraordinary. And late that night, when the house is finally quiet, Dominic will pull Elena close and say the same words he's said for 20 years. I love you. More today than yesterday. Less than tomorrow. And Elena will fall asleep in his arms, the invisible woman who became extraordinary simply by being herself. The foundation they built has grown beyond anything Elena dreamed. The Cruz Valente Foundation now operates in 12 cities, providing scholarships, mentorship, and opportunities to brilliant kids from poverty. Elena runs it with the same precision she once brought to Dominic's empire. Dominic handles the funding. His legitimate business is now worth billions, built on the ruins of his illegal operations. They've become respectable philanthropists, the kind of couple invited to galas and political dinners. But Dominic never fully leaves his past behind. He's still connected, still respected, still feared by those who remember. He just chooses different battles now. Do you miss it? Elena asks him one night. The empire, the power, the fear, they're in his study, hers now too. Their desks facing each other like they did in those early days. Dominic considers the question seriously. Sometimes, he admits, there was a clarity to it. You knew who your enemies were. You knew what you were fighting for. Everything was simple. And now? Now it's complicated. But complicated means I get to have dinner with my children every night. Complicated means I wake up next to you every morning. Complicated means I'm building instead of destroying. He looks at her. I don't miss who I was. I like who I'm becoming. Elena walks around the desk and settles into his lap, something she's done 1,000 times in 20 years. I'm proud of you, she says. The man you've become. The father you are. The husband I get to love. Even knowing everything I've done? Everyone I've hurt? Especially knowing that. Because you chose to change. You chose love over fear. That's harder than anything else. Dominic holds her close, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the weight of her trust. I don't deserve you, he whispers. That's not your decision to make. Elena pulls back to look at him. I chose you. Just like you chose me. We deserve each other because we fight for each other. They sit together in the quiet study, and Dominic thinks about the woman who walked into his life with a mop and solved his impossible problem. She didn't just save his empire. She saved him. 25 years after that night in the conference room, Elena Cruz Valente receives the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her work transforming urban housing and education. She's 51 now. Still beautiful, still brilliant, still the woman Dominic fell in love with when she dared to challenge him. He watches from the audience as the president places the medal around her neck, and he feels the same awe he felt the first time he saw her. Their children are grown now. Gabby is a renowned structural engineer. Antonio is an architect changing skylines. Sophia is in law school, preparing for her political career. Mateo is a cardiac surgeon, saving lives the way his sister saved his. After the ceremony, Elena finds Dominic waiting. How does it feel? He asks, touching the medal. Surreal, Elena admits. I keep thinking about that night. Cleaning floors. Invisible. One moment away from everything changing. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't looked at that screen? Every day. Elena takes his hand. But then I remember, I was always going to look. That's who I am. I see patterns others miss. I fix problems others ignore. I was always meant to walk into that room and solve your impossible puzzle. You solved more than a puzzle, Dominic says quietly. You solved me. They walk out together, still holding hands after 25 years, still in love after everything they've survived. And somewhere in New York, another brilliant woman wipes down tables and thinks no one sees her. But someone will. Someone always does. Because brilliance cannot stay hidden forever. And love? Love finds a way. Dear friends, thank you for staying with this story until the very end. Elena and Dominic's journey reminds us that worth isn't defined by circumstance, it's defined by courage. That one moment of bravery can transform everything. That love isn't about perfection, it's about seeing someone's truth and choosing them anyway. How did their story make you feel? Have you ever been invisible and wished someone would truly see you? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we love hearing from you. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear that they matter, that they're seen, that their brilliance deserves recognition. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Until next time, remember, you are not invisible. You are extraordinary, and your moment is coming. Goodbye, and may you always be seen for who you truly are.